Black is the power, black is my skin. Deep are the roots that this culture's within. Black, black, black. Deep are the roots and tall is the tree. The seed don't fall far and that is we. Black, black, black. They say the blacker the berry, the sweeter the juice. When you see us in the dance, see how we get footloose. Ancestors flow through the way that we move, feeling hella divine, channeling Oshun. Switch up the vibe, we talking Angelou, talking Angela Davis when we're on the move. This is a movement, not a moment, like Obi said. Gotta fight for the living, not just cry for the dead. Black to me is culture, prosperity. Black to me is a unique kind of energy. The black in me comes from matriarchs of family. See, I got it from Pearl and I got it from Christy. Like Lazarus, we out looking sharp, looking pristine. They try to take the history, but we take coasting down and make the black history. Black is the power, black is my skin. Deep are the roots that this culture's within. Black, black, black. Deep are the roots and tall is the tree. The seed don't fall far and that is we. Black, 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 black.
Black is the power, black is the color. Black is way more than the word that you utter. It's deeper than me calling you my sister or brother. Black is the movement, let's love one another. See, black is the roots coming from my grandmother. Deep and strong, you can't take me for no sucker. Try take my history, but that you can't strip me. Try violating everything I get grizzly.
Ting get mad up, some boy get bad up. See me on street, dress code, that's black up. Racist boy, I fi send for the back up. No long talk, me now, you know we not chat up. Righteous step anytime me roll out. 100% now me never hold out. Walk with pride, never in a no doubt. Say walk with pride, never in a no doubt. Black.
That blackness, that black power, that black. To me, we are the most beautiful creatures in the whole world.
Black is the power, black is my skin. Deep are the roots that this culture's within. Black, black, black. Deep are the roots and tall is the tree. The seed don't fall far and that is we. Black, black, black.
Ting get mad up, some boy get mad up. Racist boy, I fi send for the back up. Righteous like anytime me roll out. Walk with pride, never in a no doubt. Say walk with pride, never in a no doubt. Black, black.
Peace of mind, you can count on me, but I don't trust myself to keep my thoughts in check. You make it alright. That's really hard to find. You're one of a kind, babe. You're one of a kind, baby. You're one of a kind. You're one of a kind, babe. You're one of a kind, baby. You're one of a kind. Oh, slow down until you feel the same. 'Cause it's about habit. I know, baby, it's about habit. Fire is cool until it starts to rain. Starting to go now, honey. I've never really seen this before now, honey. Scared to lose you now. I'm barely sad. Losing my mind now, baby. I'm losing my mind now, baby, baby. You're serving like I'm eating hard to find. A little peace of mind, you can count on me, but I don't trust myself to keep my thoughts in check. You make it alright. That's really hard to find. You're one of a kind, babe. You're one of a kind, baby. You're one of a kind. You're one of a kind, babe. You're one of a kind, baby. You're one of a kind. Yeah. So bop it, bop it, bop your head like this. Bop it, bop your head like this, babe. Now bop it, bop it, bop your head like this. Bop it, bop your head like this, babe. Now bop it, bop it, bop your head like this. Bop it, bop your head like this, babe. Now bop it, bop it, bop your head like this. Bop it, bop your head like this, babe. Now bop it, bop it, bop your head like this. Bop it, bop your head like that, babe. Now bop it, bop it, bop your head like this. Bop it, bop your head like that, babe. Now bop it, bop it, bop your head like this. Bop it, bop your head like that, babe. Now bop it, bop it, bop your head like this. Bop it, bop your head like that, babe. Now don't leave me alone. Don't leave me behind. It's kinda hard to find. Baby, don't go. A little peace of mind, you can count on me, but I don't trust myself to keep my thoughts in check. You make it alright. Baby, don't go. That's really hard to find. You're one of a kind.
Waving through a window, eclipse blown through the pane.
A cloud of storm has come along to rain on our parade. Every call when you're on call.
In the dreams before you leave.
On your shoulders now is every breath we breathe. Every rainbow to roll. Every color colored in. It's a here's to you all. Here's to you not giving in.
Everything you do,
Everything you make okay. Until this goes away. Until this is done. Every rainbow through every mask,
through every veil.
there's a hidden on 100 the story to tell. Every step you're taking, no matter how far it's making.
I'm an angel without wings, with the strength to carry on.
Every color colored in. It's a here's to all. Here's to not giving in. Everything you do, everything you make okay. Until this goes away. Until this is done. You're a hero without armor, and it must be so hard away from home.
Will you unmute us, Lee?
Sacrifice, but we know there's a blinding light when together comes and takes away alone.
When together comes and takes away alone. When together comes and takes away alone. When together comes and takes away alone. When together comes and takes away alone. When together comes and takes away alone. When together comes and takes away alone. When together comes and takes away
Hello, everyone. We're here. We're live at last. Welcome to our little group meeting this morning. My name is Carrie Creamer, and I'm here with...
Hi, I'm Jordan.
Hi, I'm Gulshat Kadirova, but you can call me G.
Hi, my name is Roella Oloro.
Over to you, G.
We would like to offer you a very warm welcome to this year's Make Music Gloucestershire's Music Inclusion Conference. The conference will be over a 2-week period and all online and all free. We encourage you to join us and get involved in some debates and discussions.
Yep, and this year the Youth Advisory Group, supported by the Music Works, has taken over the shape and direction of the conference. We have been busy researching and developing all of the content that we bring to you. Along the way, we have met some really interesting people who have offered us great wisdom and challenges about how we can do things differently.
Yes, that's right. The Make Music Gloucestershire's 2021 Inclusion Conference is led entirely by young people, hosted by the Music Works Youth Advisory Board. This is an opportunity for young people, teachers, and industry professionals to come together and ask and hopefully answer the question, why are so many young people passionate about music and yet so few take up music in either school or in the community or as a career?
Yep, so think about this. If 74% of young people in Gloucestershire say music is one of the most important things in their lives, but only 7% of young people take music at GCSE, we want to know why.
We have an exceptional group of international speakers, performers and industry professionals to discuss and explore key themes around access to music and inclusion for all. Jordan talks to Vashti and Dread MC about their individual career paths, how to remain focused, creative and connected through opportunity.
And G interviews Gloucestershire-based spoken word performer JPDL and young musician Callum Granger about their fair access and opportunity for all.
On Thursday 11th at 1:30 p.m, Jordan will host So You Want a Career in Music with Roella Oloro, vocalist, producer and DJ Grove, and senior music leader Hamish Whitley. And I will be conversing with disabled artist Phoebe Kemp, as well as musicians Ben Pollard and Harry Philcox, about their involvement in music and the arts career paths, disability challenges and opportunities.
And for the second week, G will be hosting a live chat with Musicians Union rep John Shortell and disabled theatre maker Phoebe Kemp on the 15th of March at 1:30 p.m. But let's not forget that on Wednesday, the 17th at 4 p.m, there'll be a Teacher Share Best Practice event.
There is even a speed networking professional development event where we encourage debate and discussion around inclusion. That's at 4 p.m. on the 18th.
And on the 19th of March, at the conference closer, both myself and G, along with Rowella, will bring recommendations about how together we can make music more inclusive for young people in Gloucestershire.
Yeah, there are really exciting things happening over the course of 2 weeks.
But right now, we have our keynote speaker, Rowella Oloro, who is here with us. Rowella is a British composer and multi-instrumentalist of Nigerian and Jamaican descent. Her early musical home was in the Pentecostal church, playing piano in regional gospel choirs around Southwest England. Teaching her to play piano by ear alongside her classical training piano, clarinet, alto saxophone, and bass guitar.
Rowella, could we please start by asking you to share with us your journey into music?
Okay, so I'd say music came into my life since before I was even born, really through gospel and through the church. So my mum would literally, she was going to church like from before I was born, and like it was amazing. And yeah, since that's kind of like definitely the first place where I grew up around music was in the church. And yeah, so that's the first place. And then alongside that, like when I actually started playing was, well, playing piano at 4. We've always had a piano in the home that like my nan decided to bring in, and we always had it around, but like no one was really got into it until one day I just kind of got on it and was like, you know what, I'd like to learn this thing. I'd like to know what's going on. And yeah, my mum gave me my first few piano lessons, but then I actually officially started lessons with a classical piano teacher around the area. I could just about remember her name. I think it was Catherine. And then after that, I changed to someone called Mrs. Webster, who I love so much. It was a really integral part of my classical training. And to kind of stick with those two at first, to talk about having the gospel background and the classical training running alongside each other, I feel there's something very, very special that I've been very fortunate to have. And it's given me a good foundation in lots of ways. So I learned playing by ear and being able to recognize music orally through the church, through the having to respond without sheet music to what's going on and adjust. And then also, you know, I learned piano technique and reading music and music theory written down through the classical lessons that I had. I also went to Heron Primary School, and my music teacher there, I feel like I was really, really lucky to have her. Her name is Kim Cypher, and she was such a huge inspiration to me. I remember one of my favorite music lessons was when she brought in her saxophone, or like her array of saxophones, and then was playing to us, and it was so insane. It just lit up like the whole room. And from that moment, it's it was a really important moment in my life to later inspire me to play saxophone too. And another success story, Kim's actually gone on to start her own band and do her own music now, and has been gigging around London, and even got recognition from further ashore, from the Herbie Hancock Jazz Institute, I think, in America. So I was super proud of her for that. So go Gloucester. Yeah. And then my secondary school was Royston Hall High School. There I literally, well, music was definitely just like my thing. Like throughout the whole experience, I did GCSE music and later A-level music. And I was kind of always known as like the jazzy one, the one who loved jazz, because kind of like my gospel roots led me towards loving jazz as well. And yes, I just kind of found that was like, it was kind of quite uncommon, like in my school, for someone to love jazz the way I did. Yeah, and also whilst I was in Gloucester, I was part of the Gloucester Youth Music programs, so the Gloucester Jazz Orchestra, the Youth Orchestra, and the Wind Orchestra. Just really wanted to like get my hands on as much as possible, just meet as many new people as I could. And some of those trips, some of the music trips we did, like form like some of the best memories like I've ever had, and they're really near and dear to my heart. In terms of where I'm at now, like for uni, I actually studied for 2 years in London, and then in my second year, I got a scholarship, a full tuition scholarship to study abroad at Berklee College of Music in the States. And that the whole time has been a crazy ride. Like it honestly blows my mind every single day to that this has been in my experience, and I'm so like glad to be able to share with people. And as it's still ongoing, because you know chapters are still being added to the story. I'm currently in London at the moment actually, but still studying online at Berklee, and that has presented interesting challenges in itself, just with the logistics of how that works. So we can get into that, but yeah, that's a little bit of my background.
Thank you.
Wow, that's really interesting. And, you know, I just kind of wanted to ask you about, you know, could you talk about celebrating differences and how important that is to you?
Yes, so celebrating differences is such an important thing to me, especially as, you know, someone coming from the BAME community and being a minority, or like kind of caught in the intersectional crossing between being both Black and a woman. Like in whatever musical space I step into, it's something that, you know, that people aren't used to, that they're not used to seeing, that they're not used to seeing me excel, because they're very used to just one vein of what success in music looks like. Mm-hmm. And that's definitely something that I'm learning seeing more and more every day as I move through the music scene, recognizing more and more. I'm very aware of, in the sense of when I'm trying to put bands together myself, I'm very aware of wanting to bring together people from all different areas and sects of society, and many people from different ethnicities, because there's something just so special when like all these different cultures come together to make music and to add what they have to add to the table. And the thing is, like, everyone's stories are so unique and so beautiful to hear, and can only be, you know, you can only get that rich tapestry and that rich color from having loads of different people at the table. It's such an important thing. Like, that's when, for me, definitely, like, the music reaches new heights, is when you see loads of different people at the table. And equally, you know, when it's equally balanced between men, equally balanced between women, equally balanced between Black, white, Hispanic, Asian, when it really is very important. And another thing is, it's very possible to do, because talent knows it really does know no borders. Like, there is talent and pockets of talent all over the world and through every single community. So it's not hard to find the different people to put together and to ask to the plate. But really, the real question is, like, are those people, are they being looked for? Are the people whose job it is to look for them and to include everybody, are they doing that? Are they going after that when they're creating their lineups? Yeah.
Can I jump in quickly and ask you an extra question, if that's all right? It was kind of based on, we had a chat the other day, and it got me really thinking. Something that you were talking about is about the imposter syndrome that many of us in a million different shapes and sizes have, and what does that play? What part does that play in your musical career in terms of your development, and how that feels for you?
Definitely. Imposter syndrome is something that definitely we all fight, and I fight too. And man, it's such a struggle, because, you know, it'll have you feeling like you don't deserve to have gotten as far as you've gotten. And, you know, feeling that even though this is how other people interact with your talent, when you interact with it, or when I'm interacting with it myself, I'm still like seeing what I need to, what I need to improve, what could be better, and because I hyper focus on those things, and not enough on like how I am moving forward, it can be very easy to get lost in the imposter syndrome of like, oh my days, like I don't feel like I'm good enough still, and yeah, definitely. It's quite interesting, actually. I was having a conversation with one of my really close musician friends yesterday about this, actually, about how we feel in and overcoming the imposter syndrome, because I feel like it definitely acts as a blockage to creativity as well. Before you've even got to the play, before you've even sat down to play or turn your computer on to like start mixing, like if you're coming to it with the mentality of, oh my days, like I'm not good enough, and it's all wasted energy towards the actual music making that you want to make. And I find like my way through that is to kind of try to quiet down those like kind of nitpicking voices, and like remember and pinpoint what it is that makes me curious about the music. Like, what is the new thing that I want to learn specifically that day? Like, it doesn't have to even be like a whole big theory. It can be just like just one song or one group of chord changes that I've just always wanted to know how they work, and just kind of daring myself to go after it on that day. And like when you're actually in it and you're actually practically doing the music, that speaks to you about where you're at. And like, yeah, definitely for me, it's like just kind of the wake up call to like, no, you can do this. There's a reason why you are where you are, and like God gave you this talent for a reason, and you're using it and you're nurturing it. So keep going and have that self-confidence. And
I suppose that's partly why I mentioned it, is because for me, inclusive practice and the imposter syndrome of feeling like you shouldn't be in the room, or you question whether you are entitled to be at the table, is something that's really important to have a conversation around inclusion. Is where does that even come from? Where does that notion that many people have, and it'll lead on to your question, but many young people have around feeling that they shouldn't be in that room, learning that thing, taking part in that thing, filling out that form, joining in some shape or other. And it really struck me from our conversation the other day that that's a really important part of inclusive practice, is to have a conversation about that as much as anything. I'll lead you on to G's question. G, over to you.
Thanks, Carrie. So my next question for you, Rowella, is why do you think that so few young people engage with music in formal settings such as education?
The reason why I think that's the case is because what is being offered to young people through school a lot of the time is mainly just classical music. And obviously, there's nothing wrong with classical music. It's a beautiful art form, but there are so many more genres out there. And youth of today are really interested in a plethora of different music types. And I think, to be able to keep their interest and to show them that music is, it's valid to have different tastes, to have an eclectic taste, to be into rock, to be into jazz, to be into pop, to be into indie, to be into soul, that all of those are valid, valid desires to go after in music, is something that I don't think is really reflected in the music curriculums in our schools, like particularly in the UK. And because of this, it can turn people off from a young age from pursuing it. And I think also with the a notion that comes with classical music learning as well, is this, the stigma around, if you can't read, then you can't do music. For example, my own mother, actually, this is something that we would talk about when she's talking about how when she grew up, this was one of her worries, was that like she could never consider herself as a musician, or good enough of a musician, because her sight reading wasn't very good, and she thought that that's what you needed to excel in music. And that's really not the case. There's so many different ways to learn the music. Like, it doesn't just have to be through reading. It can be through, orally through doing it. It can be through being taught by mentors and visually learning. And like, I know earlier last week we spoke on the call about learning through YouTube, and those are different resources like that. Like the learning in our school curriculums should be able to branch out to including that now, and to showing that the different ways that students interact with music, that they're valid, and that school supports that too, and wants to support them in going after the different veins they're interested in, and not just this one thing.
Yeah. Do you think that I suppose it's a kind of a feedback question almost, but do you think that some of the reluctance to spread the offer is based on time, it's based on knowledge, but what do you think that is based on in terms of spreading the offer of what is available? And I know some schools are really pushing themselves to offer different things in terms of music, but have you got an idea of what you think that might be because of something?
I kind of think it's to do with a bit of fear of the unknown, in the sense that if a teacher doesn't fully know how to work around like a music software or a certain music software that maybe a student like spearheads as this is what I use to create music, then there is, there's a little bit of a reluctance to teach it, because it's like if I don't know a lot about it, then there's the kind of a little bit of the insecurity there of like, well, I need to know to be able to teach it. And yeah, I think there's definitely something that kind of holds like people, like students and teachers back in that area. My word to that would be to teachers actually would be to like, don't be afraid to teach something and to learn something on the job that might be completely new to what you've grown up with. That it's okay to be vulnerable in that, if it works for your students, as like the students, then their learning does come.
It looks like we've temporarily lost Roella. Maybe we'll give it a couple of minutes and see if we can get her back into the feed. But while we wait for her to get back in, G and Jordan, it'd be interesting to know what your thoughts on both those two subjects are about why schools find it hard to engage in different forms of music other than classical offer. What are your thoughts, Jordan?
So I'd say, well, I can just for a start, I'll probably go back to my own experience, and my experience in school was very that classic thing of you got all the little keyboards and that around, and you all sort of just work on that, but it was all very classical based. And actually, when I was younger, I was really I remember watching loads of videos of people of just like live shows, and like really being into my music and stuff, wanting to DJ and things, but I wasn't able to do it. So yeah, I think there's definitely a demand for alternative ways to access music in education for sure, because I missed out on something as well.
Brilliant. Thanks for that. Roella, Jordan was just sharing his experience while we were waiting for you to come back as well. Sorry to miss you mid-flow. If you're able to pick up, or we can move on to the next question, which feeds on to what you were talking about to start with. And I think that came from Jordan as well.
Of course. So my question is, what are your thoughts about how music in schools can develop their music offers to encourage more young people to engage with music?
So I definitely think that it would be worth bringing in more people from the community to like do workshops with, say, for example, someone who has like knowledge of how to work a DAW or a DAW, And for them to do it, like do workshops for the children and like show them how to start making their own like really simple beats with things like GarageBand, and show them like how Logic works and how accessible it is for them, because the people are around in the communities who are doing these things and who I know would definitely be down for coming in and sharing these skills with the children. And it's really, you know, one thing that one mentor said to me that really stuck out to me was, it's just a case of using your resources, and they are there, the people are there, and it's basically making that effort to reach out to them, and also to ask others for advice for like, okay, how can we do this? How can we incorporate you? And also asking the children themselves, like, what do you find interesting? Like, what do you listen to, and what do you work on in your own time? And kind of building how you're going to build the course then off of that, because like no one knows what they want as well as the children do. Like. So.
Absolutely, yeah, absolutely. And if I can chime in again with more sub questions, I'm curious to know, I suppose for all of you really, and particularly Rowella, you know, school staff are strapped for time, strapped for space, often for musical equipment. Often there's lots of capacity issues that are big challenges for them to overcome to be able to deliver a varied curriculum of music. I wonder what we can collectively say to them in terms of recommendations to develop some of your ideas. So do you think that offering training for teachers would be helpful for them to be able to drive the ideas forward for young people would help, or are there other things that we should start thinking about? Rowella,
I think definitely the training, like the basic training for teachers, would be really helpful. I know, for example, with the Berkeley classes that we've had to do, a lot of teachers, they're not used to working online and having to do things like ensembles online. And, you know, really quick, everyone had to adjust and learn how to like create their course, like using Logic and using GarageBand, and put files together really quite quickly. And the thing is, when actually people are kind of in a desperate situation where it's like, okay, how are we going to drive this forward? How are we going to make it work? Actually, it's in times like that you can see it's actually it's not too difficult to learn the basics of it, and really, like, especially for children, you just need to give them really the basics, and then in their own time, depending on how interested they are in it, they will continue searching for information. And just the ground level of showing them, look, this is what's possible. You can actually record your ideas and put down your ideas in a different way to just writing out each note laboriously, stem for stem. Like you can, there are different ways to go around it, and you can learn this from young.
Okay, thank you. Ian, Jordan, if you got anything else you want to contribute to that?
Yeah. Sure. Like, I actually want to come at that from a slightly different angle and talk about sort of the idea that that there's very important roles that are non-musical, and it would have been very beneficial for me in particular to be exposed to that sort of side. The idea that you have people that produce the music, people that literally their jobs is to distribute it, to the marketing, all that stuff that goes in and around it. Like, I know it might be asking a lot in terms of, there's, time, there's not a lot of time, and all of these resources are limited and things like that. But like, it would have been nice to know that, feel a little bit less like, oh, you have to be a musician or you're not doing music. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, that's definitely something that sort of sticks out to me as something that like a gap in my knowledge, and I kind of see consistently, like my dad still doesn't understand like what my course is, or like what I'm trying to and that's purely really because like those jobs aren't really talked about or displayed for people to see and celebrate it. So I'd love to see a bit more celebration of these people behind the scenes that are like really, you know, making these cogs turn. So yeah, that would be my answer to that.
Okay, thank you. And what about you, G?
Yeah, so I would definitely second what Jordan has said. I think the issue with education is the fact that with music lessons, the teachers often insinuate that you have to have learnt to play a musical instrument, which was definitely a very big barrier for me because I loved music. I was always getting involved with music one way or another, whether that be singing in the choir or anything like that. But I never felt like I could take it because I didn't play a musical instrument, and I didn't think that my talent was valid without having learnt that. But not only that, I think it would be really useful whilst, let's say, the teachers are getting trained to facilitate these lessons and have a broader genre exploration. I think it would be in the meantime, I think it'd be really useful to possibly outsource. And again, this will come up in one of the videos, but it essentially kind of get the professionals that know what they're doing to come in and teach the children and show them how to use Logic and things like that. So, and teach the teachers as well, so that they will have some confidence in doing so. But yeah, I just think outsourcing and just constantly kind of reiterating that you don't necessarily have to play a musical instrument to be musical, and that's okay. I think that they're missing a very large bracket of young people by kind of putting that as something that is required.
Okay, and thank you for that. And over to you, Ruella. What any final thoughts for that?
I think I can definitely agree with both Jordan and Gorsha in what they're saying here, that it definitely is very spearheaded as if you don't play an instrument, then yeah, there's definitely a stigma there that is definitely definitely functions as a barrier for loads of people, because, you know, especially if you're not confident about it, or you don't have the same mentors like encouraging you to pursue it. Like, it's literally just like a little inkling of a thought. You're like, but maybe, you know, I quite enjoy this, but like I can't quite do this. You just need, you know, you just definitely like students being like made aware of the fact that like you can still do the music, you can still have musical ideas without actually being able to play an instrument. Because you know, there actually are plenty of composers out there who have never actually played an instrument in their life, who write like film scores, and who, you know, who produce and know how the music works without actually being able to play the chords out. You know, through things like chord packs, or like when you can actually like buy chord sequences and then actually very artfully manipulate them to get them to sound how you want, or to come in a different order through like cutting and splicing things and moving them around. Like there's so many different ways to like be creative. And really the musicalness, like I think we all have a degree of musicality inside of us. Like it really starts in here. Like if you can hear it, then you know you can do it. It's just someone helping you unlock it.
Great, thank you. Thanks very much. Over to you, G.
Yeah, so thank you so much, Ruella, and Jordan. I'm really looking forward to hearing more about this topic in the next couple of weeks. So I hope you will all join us.
Yeah.
Yes, thanks so much, guys, and special thanks to Ruella as well. We're looking forward to speaking to you again about this. For our closing remarks event on the 19th, I just wanted to remind people that if you want to support Ruella with a full tuition scholarship to study at Berklee College of Music in Boston, please follow the link. Keep the music going and support wherever and whatever you can.
Okay, and a final thought for me, some of the conversation today and throughout the whole 2 weeks is going to be part of something that we're trying to drive forward as a group, which is around creating a 10-point plan for Gloucestershire around how to be more inclusive. The idea is it's kind of bottom up, so it's young people led, it's part of those debates and discussions. So get involved, be part of those debates, get involved and have your say, give us some feedback and some thinking. And we will put the live link on for to take you to the Berkeley funding for Rowella, and please support wherever you can. But thank you so much for joining us this afternoon, and stay tuned for some more. Thanks ever so much. Bye now. Bye.